Let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself wide awake at 2 a.m., lying in bed with a million thoughts racing through your mind? Maybe it's an argument you never had, but you've rehearsed 100 times. Or maybe it's that one thing you said 5 years ago, playing in your head on a never-ending loop like a movie you can't pause. It's like your brain decides to throw a party when all you want is peace and sleep. No matter how tired you are, your mind just keeps spinning. But here's the truth we rarely hear. You're not overthinking. You just haven't learned how to think straight. Hey friends, I'm Bix, and welcome back to Bix Book Summary, where we don't just talk about great books, we bring them to life so you can feel the lessons. Today, we're diving into Think Straight by Darius Foroux, a book that doesn't promise magic or overnight transformation, but something far more powerful. It shows you how to stop being a passenger in your own mind and start driving. This isn't about wishful thinking or pretending your problems don't exist. It's not about putting a positive spin on everything or forcing yourself to smile when you're overwhelmed. This book is about separating what's useful from what's noise. It's about learning how to lead your thoughts instead of being led by them. The author doesn't come across as a know-it-all. He doesn't pretend to be some guru on a mountaintop with all the answers. He's someone who's struggled, just like you and me. Someone who felt trapped in a whirlwind of anxious thoughts and mental exhaustion until he said, "Enough." And that's where this journey began. Not with a sudden epiphany, but with a decision to think better, one thought at a time. And what makes this book different is how real and practical it is. There's no fluff here, no jargon. Just honest lessons that make sense. Like learning that the brain is a tool, and if you don't know how to use it properly, it'll end up using you. Or realizing that it's not about thinking more, but about thinking better. Throughout this video, we'll unpack the exact mental tools Darius used to go from chaos to calm. We'll look at how he trained his mind to stop spinning in circles, how he learned to filter out unhelpful thoughts, and how he started reclaiming focus, peace, and clarity in the middle of life's noise. Because this isn't about escaping your thoughts, it's about learning how to live with them without letting them run the show. So if you've ever felt like your thoughts were controlling you instead of the other way around, if you've ever wanted to find that pause button in your head, if you've been chasing peace but didn't know how to slow your mind down, stick with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll see that it's not about changing who you are, it's about changing how you think. Let's explore how to finally take back the steering wheel of your mind and lead your thoughts instead of being led by them. Let's dive into Think Straight. So here's where the author kicks things off, with a phrase that's been echoed by philosophers, psychologists, and self-help books for decades. You become what you think. But let's be honest, how many of us really believe that? If we truly understood the weight of that statement, we'd probably handle our thoughts with a lot more care, like they were delicate blueprints for the lives we're building. Think about your day. Every action you take, how you reply to a text, how you treat your partner, how committed you feel to your goals, even how you handle setbacks. It all starts with a single thought. But instead of pausing to check those thoughts, we usually just react to them. We let them lead. We feel something, and we go with it, without ever asking, where is this thought actually taking me? And that's what Darius Foroux wants us to really see. Your thoughts are constantly designing your reality. Whether you notice it or not, they're shaping how you feel, what you believe, and the decisions you make. If you walk around thinking you're not enough, you'll probably show up like someone who believes that. If your inner voice keeps saying you're behind in life, you'll rush through your days with a quiet panic, trying to catch up to an imaginary finish line. If you're convinced the world is unfair, you'll find evidence of injustice everywhere you look. It's not some mystical concept or cosmic force. It's just your mind, filtering your entire life through whatever narrative it's stuck on. And this is what makes the message so powerful. Most of us don't realize that the prison we feel trapped in isn't our job, our relationship, our bank account, or our past. It's the story we're telling ourselves about those things. We're not stuck in life. We're stuck in thought patterns that keep playing like broken records. Foroux shares how he spent years in this mental loop, overanalyzing everything, replaying past conversations, second-guessing his choices. It wore him down. Until one day, he started asking himself a simple question every time a thought popped up. Is this useful? Not, is it true? Not, is it meaningful? Not, is it profound? Just, is it useful? Because the truth is, we're bombarded with thousands of thoughts every day, and most of them aren't insightful revelations. They're just old fears, habitual judgments, random noise. Our minds recycle the same narratives, the same worries, the same self-doubt. And unless we step in and question them, they run the show. But when you pause, look at a thought, and ask, is this helping me move forward? You shift from being a passive thinker to an active one. You stop being the audience and become the editor. You start curating your thoughts the way a filmmaker edits a movie, cutting out what doesn't serve the story, highlighting what moves the plot forward. That's what it means to think straight. It's not about forcing yourself to be blindly optimistic. It's about thinking intentionally, on purpose, with clarity. And it starts with awareness. Observing your thoughts without judgment, just like a good journalist. Listening, noticing, and then choosing what's worth keeping and what's just background noise. So take a second right now and ask yourself, what's one thought that's been on repeat in your mind lately? Something you've been carrying, maybe even obsessing over. And then ask, has it been useful? Has it helped you grow, solve, build, connect? Or has it just been draining you? As we keep going, we'll break down how to cut through the mental clutter, how to filter out what doesn't serve you, and how to stop wasting your energy thinking about things that are completely out of your hands. Because once you start choosing your thoughts, really choosing, that's when things begin to change. That's when your life stops happening to you and starts responding to you. So now that you've started asking the right question, is this thought useful? You'll probably stumble onto something unexpected, maybe even a little uncomfortable. Most of them aren't, and not just some, not just the anxious ones or the dramatic ones. The truth is, a massive chunk of our daily thoughts are just mental junk. They don't solve a thing. They don't create anything. They don't even help us feel better. They just loop, like background noise you didn't ask for, playing on repeat while your attention gets hijacked. We worry about scenarios we can't control. We replay that awkward moment from last week, like we're the director of a film that flopped. We imagine conversations that never happen. We stress about what others might be thinking, even though, let's be real, they're probably not thinking about us at all. And the cost of all this? It's higher than we think. We drain our mental battery before the real part of the day even begins. We lose clarity. We lose focus. And more than anything, we lose our peace. It's like starting your day with a full tank of gas, but leaving the car running in the driveway while you sit there worrying about traffic. By the time you're ready to move, you're already out of fuel. That's exactly why the author doesn't just suggest, but lives by one of the most important principles in the whole book. Only think about what you can control. Not as a vague idea, as a daily filter, as a non-negotiable. So what can you actually control? Your actions, your attitude, your focus, your effort, the way you respond when things go sideways. That's your lane. That's where your power lives. Everything else? That goes straight into a box labeled "Not my business." What other people think of you, not your business. Whether the market crashes or the news spirals, not your business. Whether someone texts back, validates your feelings, says thank you, or gives you closure, nope, not your business. And this mindset, it's not about becoming detached, cold, or indifferent. It's about becoming laser clear. It's about decluttering your mind so you can actually show up for the life in front of you. Because when you stop trying to control everything and start focusing on what's yours to manage, you begin to reclaim your energy. You stop reacting to life. You start responding. You stop spinning your wheels. You start moving forward. And here's the part that might surprise you. It doesn't make you weaker. It makes you unstoppable. Because while most people are busy drowning in the noise, tangled in thoughts they can't do anything about, you're using your mind like a compass. You're directing your attention toward the only place it actually makes a difference. Here. Now. That's how Darius pulled himself out of years of mental clutter. He got ruthless about what deserved his attention. He stopped fueling every fear. He let go of trying to fix things that weren't his to fix. And in that space, his mind got quieter. His life simplified. His results started to reflect his clarity. Because when your thoughts stop scattering your energy, they start serving your life. So here's something you can do right now. You don't have to wait. Take one thought, one recurring worry, one what if that's been camping out in your mind for too long. Ask yourself, can I control this? If not, don't carry it another second. Let it go. Breathe. Put it down like a heavy bag you never needed to carry in the first place. And if the answer is yes, if it is something you can influence, then move. Take an action, any action, even a small one, because nothing slices through overthinking like doing something about it. Ahead in this video, we'll explore one of the simplest but most transformative shifts you can make. Learning how to focus only on what matters. Because thinking straight isn't about thinking harder, it's about clearing mental space for what actually moves your life forward. And when you do that, everything starts to align. So we've talked about how your thoughts shape your life, and how most of those thoughts are just noise. We've unpacked how so much of our mental energy is wasted on things we can't control. But even after clearing out the clutter, there's one more trap waiting for us, and it's a sneaky one. It's not overthinking. It's overdoing. It's what happens when you try to be everywhere, do everything, chase every good idea, and meet every expectation thrown your way. You become hyper-available, stretched thin, chasing momentum that never quite feels like progress. And then one day you stop and ask yourself, why do I feel so busy, but still so behind? That's where the author introduces one of the simplest, most grounding practices of all. It's not a productivity hack. It's not a morning routine. It's a mindset filter. 3 words: focus on what matters. It sounds easy. It sounds obvious. But let's be honest, most of us aren't doing it. Most of us wake up and immediately dive into a checklist of urgency, reacting to emails, messages, updates, alerts, social feeds, news cycles, and internal pressure. We juggle roles and tasks and expectations. We try to stay on top of everything. But all that juggling, it comes at a cost. You don't just lose time, you lose clarity, you lose direction, and slowly you lose yourself. So the author started asking a different question. Not what needs to get done. Not what's on my list today. But is this important? Not is this expected of me? Not will this get applause? Not even will this look good on paper? Just does this matter to my peace, my purpose, or my progress? And if it didn't, he let it go. No drama, no guilt, just a quiet refusal to carry what wasn't his to carry anymore. And here's the thing, this kind of focus isn't loud. It's not flashy. You won't get a round of applause for it, but it's powerful. Because it gives you something that's in short supply these days. Space. Space to breathe. Space to rest. Space to stop living on autopilot and actually start living with intention. When you focus only on what truly matters, your world slows down, but in the best possible way. It doesn't get boring, it gets clear. You stop saying yes out of guilt and start saying yes because it aligns. You stop chasing validation and start honoring your own vision. You stop letting urgency lead and start letting clarity lead. And the writer makes a key point here. It's not about perfect priorities. It's about the courage to let go of what no longer fits. It's about editing your life like a great writer edits a story. Not cramming in every detail, not trying to do it all, but cutting what's unnecessary so what is necessary can shine. Because clarity, in a world that glorifies noise, is a quiet rebellion. And the people who embrace it, they go further, not because they hustle harder, but because they move smarter, with less drag, with more freedom, with more joy. So let me ask for everyone watching, what's one thing you're still doing out of habit that doesn't actually matter anymore? What's one mental tab you can finally close? One obligation you can release? One thought, one task, one worry you can gently set down to make room for what truly matters? Because when you stop trying to do everything and start focusing only on what counts, that's when your life starts to reflect what you actually value. And as we move forward in this video, we'll explore how this kind of mental clarity leads to better choices. How thinking straight helps you stop overcomplicating your life and start living it fully and freely. So here's the thing. Most people, they don't actually think. They react. Something happens. A notification pops up. Someone makes a snide comment, an unexpected expense hits, or plans change last minute, and without missing a beat, we respond. Automatically, emotionally, almost like we're on a mental reflex loop that's been playing for years. And here's what the author of Think Straight discovered after spending far too long living like this himself. Trapped in overthinking, that reactive decisions, and constant mental fatigue. You can't think clearly when you're reacting emotionally. And for most of us, that's what we're doing every single day. We're not thoughtfully creating our lives. We're just recycling patterns. Someone criticizes you, you jump into defense mode. Someone doesn't text back, you spiral into self-doubt. You face an obstacle, you start imagining worst-case scenarios. You feel lost. You avoid action altogether. What the writer realized is that he wasn't actually choosing anything. He wasn't moving through life intentionally. He was stuck in reaction mode, letting outside forces control his inside world. And if you're living in reaction, you're not really in the driver's seat anymore. So he did something radical. He slowed down before replying to a message, before reacting to a situation, before letting his thoughts run wild. He paused, even for just a few seconds. Long enough to ask, is this even worth thinking about? Does this deserve my energy right now? Am I really thinking? Or am I just reacting? That tiny pause, that moment of space between stimulus and response, that's where your power is. It's the space where you catch yourself before you say something you'll regret. Where you stop anxiety from building stories that aren't true. Where you take a step back and think, what's the outcome I actually want here? Instead of just reacting out of habit or fear. The author calls this deliberate thinking, and it's exactly what it sounds like, thinking on purpose, with clarity, with direction. It means asking yourself real questions. What am I aiming for in this moment? What's the simplest next step I can take? If my best friend were in this situation, what would I advise them to do? It's not about ignoring emotions, it's about refusing to be hijacked by them. And look, it's not easy. It requires self-awareness, patience, and humility to admit maybe my first reaction isn't always the best one. But this practice, it's the bridge between a reactive life and a responsive one. And here's the part that really hit me, and maybe it'll land for you too. You might not be able to control how you feel in the moment, but you can always choose how you think. You can feel anxious and still think with clarity. You can feel hurt and still respond with kindness. You can feel overwhelmed and still choose one small, powerful next step. That's what thinking straight is all about. That's real strength. And over time, when you keep choosing to think deliberately, something incredible happens. It becomes second nature. You stop making decisions from fear or ego and start making them from purpose. You stop trying to survive the moment and start intentionally shaping your future. So let me ask you this, for everyone watching. Where in your life right now are you reacting instead of responding? What if the next time something triggers you, you gave yourself one breath of space, one moment to think, instead of just react? Because it's in those little pauses that big changes are born. And as we continue ahead, we'll see how those small shifts, those quiet acts of mental discipline, add up. Because thinking straight isn't just about clearing your mind. It's about building a clear life. One thought, one choice, one response at a time. So here's the quiet truth that lands right at the heart of Think Straight. Not with a bang, not with some dramatic breakthrough, but with a soft, steady reminder that stays with you long after the book ends. Peace of mind isn't something you go out and find. It's something you reclaim, gently, intentionally, one thought at a time. And the more you begin practicing this way of thinking, learning to filter what matters, letting go of what doesn't, choosing what to give your energy to, slowing down your mind instead of speeding up your life, the more it becomes clear. A calm life begins with a calm mind. But here's the twist that most people miss, and it's what makes this book so quietly powerful. That peace you're chasing, it doesn't come from grinding harder or thinking more deeply. It doesn't come from forcing your way into clarity. It comes from thinking less, not because you're avoiding life, but because you're finally thinking on purpose. And when the writer says, just because you have a thought doesn't mean it deserves your attention, that hits different, doesn't it? Because if we're honest, most of us are handing our attention to thoughts that are doing nothing but draining us. We're giving energy to fear loops, to imaginary arguments, to stories our ego tells us when it's scared or insecure. We're fighting shadows, solving problems we don't even have yet, rehearsing stress for a future that hasn't arrived. And all of that, it's costing us. It costs us clarity. It costs us energy. It costs us joy. But what this book reminds us so gently and so clearly is that your mind isn't a wild animal you can't tame. It's a tool. And like any tool, it gets sharper the more you train it, the more you lead it, the more you choose to stop entertaining every thought just because it showed up. You can train your mind. You can guide your thinking. You can stop letting your thoughts run the show and start taking your power back without needing to fix everything, plan everything, or be perfect. And when your mind is finally clear, you stop rushing. You stop over-explaining. You stop trying to control everything and everyone. You start living. You start focusing. You start showing up for what matters, with presence, intention, and peace that doesn't depend on external outcomes. Because peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the absence of unnecessary thinking about problems. And when you stop thinking everything to death, when you give yourself permission to let thoughts go instead of clinging to them like they define you, that's when life gets quiet again. That's when it feels light. So before we wrap up, let me leave you with this, Bix. And for anyone else watching right now, you don't need all the answers. You don't need to be healed or fixed. You just need to lead your thoughts before they lead you. You need to choose clarity over chaos, stillness over spinning, and peace over performance. Your mind is powerful, but it was never meant to be your master. It was meant to be your guide. If this message hit home today, drop a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and hit that subscribe button here on Bix Book Summary. Let's grow this space together, a place for reflection, for healing, for clarity. And tell me in the comments, what's one thought you're finally ready to let go of today? If you want to dive deeper, the link to the book is in the description. It's not a hype-driven read, but it's one of the most practical, quietly transformative books you'll ever come across if you're ready to finally think better and live lighter. Until next time, I'm Bix. Stay grounded, stay intentional, and above all, keep your thoughts clean. Because your life, it's built thought by thought, and you deserve to be the one shaping it.